We've already talked about how an inspector calls is set in 1912. We've looked at the position of women in 1912. Now we're going to have a look at general life in 1912. England was in a state of mass unemployment. The gap between the rich and the poor was widening, and a large percentage of the population were living in absolute poverty. The Industrial Revolution was underway, and this meant that many men made their fortunes in the coal industry and were wealthier than ever before, for example Mr. Burling. However, this also meant that many men were out of a job, as there were increasingly efficient machines that could do their jobs a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. Unlike today, there was no welfare state to support poor people. In modern society, poorer people can apply for benefits to help themselves and their families. For example, the government will provide a small amount of money for people that don't work to ensure they can afford to live. We also have a free healthcare. However, in 1912 there was no such thing, meaning that poor people usually ended up homeless. If they didn't work, they had nothing, often ending up without food and living on the streets, hoping the entire time that they didn't get ill, as even illnesses that we consider minor today would have led to death in 1912 if you couldn't pay to see a doctor. There were charities, however, set up to help such people, but as we see with Eva Smith, such charities were rarely effective. Priestley is suggesting to us that such places were set up to make the wealthy members of the charity feel better, but rarely did they actually help any of the poor people. Priestley has set his play in 1912 deliberately, as the date represented a time when things were incredibly different to 1945 when he was writing. By 1945, people were aching for social change and more equality, and there was less gender and class divisions. Priestley wanted to make the point that we should seize these changes and build a better, more caring society after the horrors of the two world